A baby born in Norway this morning is already worth almost $400,000. She hasn't taken her first breath, spoken her first word, or done a single day of work. And on paper, she already owns a small fortune. Now look just across the border. In Sweden, the same corner of the world, the same kind of people, almost the same language, a baby born this morning owns nothing of the sort. Two neighbors, nearly identical. One is among the richest nations that has ever existed. The other, for all its success, simply isn't. So what happened here? Why did Norway strike it rich, and the country right next door didn't? The answer changes everything you assume about wealth, luck, and why one nation ends up rich while the one beside it does not. To understand it, you have to go back to a cold December in 1969. Back then, Norway was a quiet nation of fishermen and farmers on the edge of Europe. Fewer than 4 million people. Comfortable, but ordinary. Nobody looked at Norway and thought, future superpower of wealth. Then, just a few days before Christmas, an American company called Phillips Petroleum sent word to the Norwegian government. Off the country's coast, deep beneath the freezing North Sea, they had found oil. Not a little. The field they discovered, Ekofisk, would turn out to be one of the largest oil finds in the entire history of the North Sea. Overnight, a nation of fishermen was sitting on one of the greatest fortunes in Europe. And here is where the story should just end. Country finds oil, country gets rich. Simple. Except that is almost never how it actually goes. Because for most countries, striking oil isn't a blessing. It's a curse. Economists even have a name for it: the resource curse. Time and again, a poor country discovers a fortune buried under its soil: oil, gas, diamonds. And instead of thriving, it falls apart. The money floods in, the currency spikes. Every other industry withers because nothing else can compete. Corruption blooms. And when the resource finally runs dry, the country is often left poorer than before it ever got lucky. There's even a name for one version of this trap: Dutch disease. Think of the petrostates that have pumped staggering fortunes out of the ground over the last century, and today have almost nothing to show for it. Some ended up poorer and more broken than before they ever struck it lucky. The oil didn't save them, it ruined them. So Norway was standing at the very edge of a pit that had swallowed nation after nation before it. And what it did next is the real reason it's rich today. In 1990, the Norwegian parliament did something almost no country flush with sudden money has ever had the discipline to do. They decided not to spend it. They created a single enormous national savings account, the Government Pension Fund Global, and began pouring the oil money into it. The first deposit landed in 1996, and they built it on two rules that changed everything. First, the fund invests almost entirely abroad, in foreign companies, foreign property, foreign bonds, not at home. Because if all that money washed into tiny Norway, it would spike the currency, wreck every other industry, and trigger the exact curse they were trying to escape. So they sent the fortune overseas, on purpose. Second, a hard limit. The government is allowed to spend only the expected return, around 3% a year, never the original money. The oil wealth itself is almost never touched. It just sits there, invested, and grows. Today, that fund is worth over $2 trillion. It is the single largest sovereign wealth fund on the entire planet. It owns pieces of more than 7,000 companies across 60 countries, roughly 1.5% of every publicly traded share on Earth. It is so open that Norwegians can watch its value tick upward in real time on a live counter. Which brings us back to that newborn baby. Split the fund across Norway's 5.5 million people, and each and every one of them owns close to $400,000 of it. So read that again. Norway didn't get rich from oil. Norway got rich by refusing to spend it. But if oil is the whole answer, then explain the neighbor. Because Sweden has no oil fund. Sweden has essentially no oil at all. And yet Sweden is one of the wealthiest, most advanced countries in the entire world. So where on earth did its money come from? Look around your own home. The flat-pack furniture you built with a tiny wrench? IKEA. The car in 100 safety adverts? Volvo. The app playing your music right now? Spotify. The phone networks, the H&M on your high street, the cartons your milk is poured from? Ericsson, H&M, Tetra Pak. All of it from a single country of just 10.5 million people. Sweden got rich the hard way, not by pulling something out of the ground, but by building things the entire world wanted to buy. Engineering, design, software, ideas. It pours more of its economy into research and invention than almost any nation on Earth. Its wealth doesn't sit locked in a vault. It's walking around inside your house right now. Put real numbers on it, and both countries look remarkable. Norway now produces around $87,000 of wealth per person every year. Sweden, around $57,000. Sweden isn't poor, nowhere close to it. It simply never had a $2 trillion fortune fall out of the sky and into its lap. It had to build one, piece by piece. And that is the twist this whole story has been hiding. Because if a country with no oil can become this rich, then the oil was never really the point. Norway isn't rich because of what it found. Sweden isn't rich because of what it lacked. Both of them arrived at the same place from opposite directions, through the choices they made, not the luck they were handed. We love to explain a country's fortune with something simple. They got lucky. They had oil. They had gold or empire or the right patch of land. But what if luck was never the deciding factor at all? What if the thing that truly separates a rich nation from a poor one isn't what happens to be buried beneath it, but what it chooses to do the very moment fortune arrives? A nation of fishermen that struck oil and had the discipline to leave it almost untouched. A nation with no oil at all that got rich by simply outthinking everyone else. Two neighbors, two completely different paths, the same destination. And that baby, born in Norway this morning, already worth almost $400,000, she isn't rich because her country got lucky. She's rich because half a century before she was ever born, a small nation of fishermen made a choice that almost no one else on Earth has ever had the discipline to make. They found a fortune, and they decided not to touch it.